Missiles incoming. Sirens are now lit up in Tel Aviv. Oh my God. AP having the chat live is crazy. There's so many Turks in here saying Allah Baba geliyor. Aha geliyor Hüseyin Alak. Füze gönderiyorlar İsrail'e. Yine. Yeah. Keir Starmer's personal motivation for being for playing an active role in Israel's ethnic cleansing campaign is so crazy, because like there's no real what the fuck? Oh, interceptors off the side of the building that we saw. Wait. Oh my God. Oh my God. That was an anti-air. That was an anti-air that fucking. Oh my God. Oh my God. Are they fucking. Did they actually hack these? What the hell's going on? That's a misfire. Wait, why did this stop? Camera quickly turned away. I'm confused. Camera very quickly turned away and stopped looking in that direction. Look. Look. You can see it from the building. One of them is deployed right here, and it's supposed to be an interceptor, and then it literally lands back in Tel Aviv. That interceptor was an 18-year-old major general. Don't laugh. I don't know. Are the missile autists in the chat? Wait, no. The camera operator doesn't suck ass. I think they stopped the feed. It's no longer live. Sirens cut out as well. No, they cut the feed. They cut the feed. They're not showing real-time footage any longer. Oh my God. They cut it, and then I think this is splice footage. Like, look. Look. Look. No fucking way. No fucking way. It is. There are some pixels moving if you look closely. No. I'm saying there are pixels moving, but I feel like it's just. Wait. Maybe I'm crazy. Nearly all YouTube live streams showing Tel Aviv and Haifa skylines are being taken offline, reportedly at the request of Israeli authorities. No! That's crazy. They're all showing the same footage now.
And we will, of course, keep a close eye on the situation and what's happening over Israeli skies here on Al Jazeera.
Chat. There's probably a fucking loop. I'm saying it feels like they flicked the camera. They flicked the camera after the Iron Dome interceptor failing, and they flicked it and then most likely put a loop on. I don't know. I don't know what the fuck happened there. Now the camera is moving again. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. CNBC's feed is at a different angle with different lighting too. I don't think there's anything weird going on, dude. It's just a live stream. If I still worked in broadcast, I would have hooked you up with some live feeds. I don't know why the siren stopped. Maybe the missiles, incoming missile stopped. I don't know. Haifa police opened an investigation after receiving reports of individuals filming the Haifa port from a hotel balcony. Officers confiscated the cameras and some of the photographers were questioning. Details were handed to the General Security Service for further security review. Yeah, they're also clamping down on read the AP pinned on the live stream. Our live streams are a view into some of the biggest events and moments every day. Donate to support AP journalism. What? That's the pin. What? They said the sirens are set 90 seconds and don't go for the duration of the strike. Live link. What is this? It's not loading. CNN. This isn't new. What? No, this isn't new, bro. Get the fuck out of here. This is looped up too. Guys, come on, dude. Oh my God. Exercise a little bit of fucking caution.
A regime that is quite entrenched after 45 years of being in power.
There's like hella bot accounts that just try to fucking generate traffic by putting fake shit up.
He would know that Netanyahu
the CNN 18 accounts, some of them are actually CNN live feeds that they're restreaming illegally, but a lot of them are often just like fake shit.
And as we're talking, Marwan, we've heard another air raid siren in Tel Aviv there, and what is being described as a misfired air defense rocket. Now, obviously, so much of what happens next
I can't believe we watched that live.
Hinges on the United States and on President Trump himself. We've heard mixed messages from the administration. How do you assess Trump's position right now? He's of course campaigned against being, he wanted to be less interventionist. He's campaigned against wars in the Middle East. He said the U.S. was not involved in the strikes against Iran. Do you think it's going to stay that way?
Look, the problem with Trump is that he's not versed in foreign policy. He doesn't understand strategic calculus.
I'm on AP, chat. Calm down.
Other person. He's surrounded by yes men.
Is there a fucking delay?
He's certainly influenced by Netanyahu and
chat.
his Israel lobby, including
test the delay. Subscribe now.
Would like to see Iran annihilated
for $5 or $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime.
He's going to get the right advice or the wrong one.
Okay, there is no delay in the chat.
At the G7, he'd probably hear a bit more sobering advice. It's not to say that his European partners are, holier than thou. They're not. In fact, if you allow me, I'm just going to take a few seconds to give you a bit of a perspective.
Right.
Regardless what one thinks about the Iranian regime.
I don't know what happens to misfired munitions. I don't know if it like explodes before impact with the ground. No, there was just a plane drone, but you missed it.
The fate of the Middle East, the fate of Iran, 70 years after they did that, when they changed a government democratically elected in Iran in 1953, 70 years later, we have a British prime minister and an American president, the same type of characters that try to dominate, try to rob, try to redraw the Middle East. Then we are living those moments again, a bunch of white imperialists trying to redraw the Middle East with an attitude of an holier than thou, that they are supporting an ally, which is actually an implant for self-defense, when we all know
that definitely
that these
exploded.
are the same
you can
colonial
see
imperial powers
like
that tried to run and divide the Middle East
right?
just a century earlier.
Or maybe not.
It's kind of eerie to
Maybe
watch,
it was more so the flares as it was
Van
going
Leyen
down.
talk about how Israel has a right to self-defense and how the French and the British are silent and complicit and how the Americans are smug and say how excellent it is that Iran is being destroyed. Again, you don't have to be a fan of the Iranian regime to know that this is going to lead to huge pent-up violence in the Middle East. There are no victories in the Middle East. We've seen it happen and again over a century. Every time Israel says it won a war, it came out victorious the past 70 years.
Right.
For some reason, it's fighting more and more wars.
And you know, what is also interesting here is that President Trump seems to have failed on all the big foreign policy issues that he promised he would solve quickly. They all seem to have gotten worse, whether it's the Middle East, whether it's Russia, Ukraine.
There's no doubt that the false promise that I will resolve everything in 48 hours and 24 hours, of course, is all wishful thinking. And he said, well, wasn't serious, and all the rest of it. Not really understanding that these are very complex issues that have history. It's not a question of, as Biden framed it, terrorism against democracy or tyrannies against democracies. None of that. It's a far more complicated issues. And the way, again, Netanyahu just framed it, we just heard it in his interview on APC, saying that the Iranian regime is this and that. Yes, the Iranian regime was a destabilizing force in the Middle East, there's no doubt. But the person who is saying this is indicted on criminal charges by the world's highest court, even corruption in his own courts. And his country and himself have been invading and occupying countries like there is no tomorrow. So to frame these things as democracies versus tyrannies, this is just another pretext, another tool of colonial imperial powers trying to redraw, trying to impose their will on the Middle East, trying to do whatever they need to do in order to stay on top. And this is not right. There's something wrong about trying to frame these things while at the same time defending or praising a country for unprovoked attack against another country. Unprovoked against another country.
Right.
Iran, again, fan or not, is a signatory to the NPT. It does not have nuclear weapons. The director of national intelligence of the United States said they are not pursuing nuclear weapons. Israel is a nuclear power, is not a signatory to the NPT, is invading countries, is a genocidal government, at least as far as Gaza is concerned. And yet, we see all of these things being twisted around as if there's a Western Israeli holier-than-thou attitude and everything in the Middle East is rotten and evil. This is just wrong. You're wrong.
As always, very good to hear your views. Thank you so much for your perspective, Marwan Bashar, our senior political analyst. I just want to show our viewers now some of the images we were seeing just a moment ago from Israel when the air raid sirens went off. And then we saw what I thought looked like a flare, but it was actually an interceptor missile that misfired shortly after the air raid siren went off. There it is. And this is all coming after Iran said it would retaliate following the attack on its state television building in Tehran. The Iranians saying that they were preparing for the largest and most intense missile attack in history on Israeli soil. So we're keeping a close eye on the skies over Tel Aviv and other...
The Iron Dome earlier today deployed an interceptor that ended up striking Tel Aviv anti-Semitically. We will find out the anti-Semites responsible for the anti-Semitism coming from the Tamir interceptors.
However, has about 100,000 more reservists. Israel possesses 340 combat-capable aircraft. Those include several advanced U.S.-made F-35 fighter jets.
The Iron Dome is
Iran
Hamas.
mostly operates an older fleet of Russian jets. Among Israel's anti-missile systems at work, there is the Iron Dome that's designed to take down short-range rockets, usually coming from Gaza. There's also the David Sling and the Arrow systems. They are domestically manufactured equipment designed to take down medium to long-range ballistic and cruise missiles. In Iran, the IRGC says they've designed their own air defense system called the Bavar 373, which has enhanced detection and tracking of aircraft and long-range missiles. Tehran also has two other systems, including a Russian-made one. But neither of these three systems are capable of tracking stealth fighter jets. Let's discuss all this further now with Colin Clark, who's the Director of Research at the Sufan Center, a global intelligence and security consultancy. Colin is joining us from Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania. So we've seen what each side has right now. And given the Iranian threat to escalate further, what do you think are the likely military scenarios right now if both sides continue these retaliatory strikes?
Well, thanks for having me. Yeah, both sides are attempting to renegotiate the rules of engagement and redefine their own red lines, essentially attempting to establish or reestablish deterrence. It's really going to be a kind of blow-by-blow account over the next at least 24 to 48 hours. The United States is moving a lot of military muscle into the region to help the Israelis. And so I think we're likely to see continued fighting and escalation, at least for the near term. Beyond that, President Trump has expressed some optimism that the Iranians are willing and ready to come to the negotiating table. But I have my own doubts about that based on what I've seen.
Colin, what is your assessment of the level of destruction of the targets that each side has been aiming for in these past 5 days? How significant are they in terms of operational and symbolic impact?
So it's still too early for a formal battle damage assessment, but symbolically, both sides are, absorbing blows, pretty significant blows. If we've seen the recent Iranian attack against Israeli energy infrastructure in Haifa, and the Israelis now with air superiority and air dominance have had their pick of going after various surface-to-air missiles and Iranian anti-missile defense systems. So this is a real knockdown, drag-out conflict. It's really what we've all been hoping to avoid since October 7th, 2023.
So do you think we're looking at a protracted, low-intensity conflict or something with the potential to spill over into a broader regional war?
Well, it's hard to sustain this level of intensity, this operational tempo, because the blows have been so severe. Although the Iranians have said and have attempted to make clear that they've been holding back their most strategic and advanced weaponry, whether or not that's true or if that's simply a threat, yet to be seen. Although what's happening right now as we speak could be part and parcel of that. I think, we're likely to get some clarity again over the next day or two. I'm hoping that we don't see a broader conflagration through the region. And one of the reasons to be optimistic is that the axis of resistance have been significantly weakened already.
I was going to ask you about that because the axis of resistance has been weakened indeed. Hezbollah weakened in Lebanon, but we have seen the Houthis in Yemen engage Israel. We've seen missile attacks on Israel from Yemen. Are we likely to see a greater involvement of the proxies?
We very well could. It's something I've been watching closely. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Houthis become more active. The big question becomes Hezbollah. What are their capabilities at this point, and what's their desire to actually get back involved in a tit-for-tat with the Israelis? Hezbollah significantly weakened since the pager attack in September, since the targeted assassination of its longtime leader, Hassan Nasrallah. However, if Hezbollah feels that the Israelis are instigating something that they're probably not going to look for, we could see Hezbollah join the fray as well.
Colin Clark, good to get your insight. Thank you so much for joining us again on Al Jazeera.
Thank you.
As we heard earlier, the G7 summit in Canada, U.S. President Donald Trump spoke to reporters about de-escalation efforts in this conflict between Israel and Iran. Here's what he had to say.
Have you heard any signals or seen any messages from intermediaries that Iran wishes to de-escalate the conflict?
Yeah.
What have you heard? What have you heard from the Iranians?
They'd like to talk, but they should have done that before. I had 60 days, and they had 60 days, and on the 61st day, I said, we don't have a deal.
Bro.
They have to make a deal.
You shot them.
It's painful for both parties, but I'd say Iran is not winning this war. And they should talk, and they should talk immediately before it's too late.
And what would you say, in your opinion, what would it take for the U.S. to get involved in this conflict militarily?
I don't want to talk about that. We've always supported Israel. We have for a long period of time, strongly. And Israel's doing very well right now.
Let's discuss all this further now with Mohsen Milani, Executive Director of the Center for Strategic and Diplomatic Studies at the University of Florida, is joining us from Tampa. Thank you, Mr. Milani, for being with us again on Al Jazeera. President Trump there calling for a deal to be done, but not really calling for de-escalation. What do you make of this?
Thank you for the invitation. President Trump's strategy from the very beginning was to put maximum pressure on Iran to accept American terms. In other words, if I have to summarize it, it's either comply or be bombed. You choose. And one of the key demands that the president has had from Iran is to dismantle its uranium enrichment infrastructure in Iran. And for the Iranian leadership to accept that, having spent billions of dollars to set up that infrastructure, would amount to a political suicide. And therefore, they rejected it. However, they were pretty close to an agreement. As a matter of fact, a few days before Israel launched its attack on Iran, American and Iranian negotiators were scheduled to meet. And unfortunately, they haven't met yet. And today, what the president is probably asking for Iran to accept before joining the negotiations, that they would surrender their nuclear program. And I think this is unlikely for Iran to do at this time.
If they're not at this moment willing to stop uranium enrichment, as you say, what would it take? What would it take for them to rejoin the negotiations? What could convince them to get back to the negotiating table?
They should have been fucking enriching already, dude. They should have had a nuke by now. That way they could have defended themselves from any sort of escalation.
Attack on Iran, and of course, Iran has to stop its attack on Israel. As long as the two countries are engaged in a war, and as long as Tehran believes, as it does, that the U.S. is directly involved in these operations against Iran, Iran is unlikely to join the negotiating table. However, if there is a ceasefire, I think it is likely that Iran...
You need to be careful, feds. I mean, what do you mean? Like, what the fuck? Like, from a... Oh, here's the other angle from the interceptor.
ولك علت كيبات برزيل علت ولك رجعت عليهم بشرفي.
You kind of said Iran should nuke Israel. No, dumbass. There's a policy of nuclear deterrence. It's called mutually assured destruction. Okay? Countries that don't have nukes in the age of nuclear proliferation are clearly countries that don't have sovereignty. Ukraine is a better example of this. It is a consistent position that I've had. And nuclear deterrence is the only thing that will fucking stop Israel from engaging in these kinds of actions. The very fact that Iran doesn't have nukes is the reason why Israel is blowing the fuck up, blowing Tehran up. Don't put words in my fucking mouth. We just want you to be careful. I am careful. Anyway.
يوم بشرفي رجعت. يا حلال والله